Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to unlock the secret to better English listening? Today we're taking a deep dive into using podcasts for leveling up your listening skills.
It's fascinating, really, because we often think about listening as this passive thing.
Right.
But when it comes to language learning, it's anything but passive. It's like, your brain's doing mental gymnastics in the background, picking up on all these subtle rhythms, how people actually speak.
I love that mental gymnastics. We've got a podcast transcript all about using podcasts for better English. And there's this idea that really caught my eye. It says that listening can help with pronunciation.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, that seems a bit counterintuitive, right? Don't we usually think of speaking practice as being the key to good pronunciation?
It might seem that way, but think about it, like how we all learned to speak as kids.
Yeah.
Right? We spent months just listening, absorbing all the sounds around us, way before we could even form words.
That's true.
Our brains are amazing at picking up patterns. And the more you hear spoken English, the more your brain starts to internalize those patterns.
It's like it's building a sound library without us even knowing it.
Exactly. You're essentially training your mouth to do what your ears are hearing. Kind of like how a musician might learn a song by ear.
I like that. Okay, so the transcript also mentions that podcasts can be even better than textbooks for learning vocab. Why is that?
Well, it boils down to context. Textbooks, they tend to present words in isolation.
Right.
Which can make it tough to really grasp the nuances, how words are actually used, But when you're listening to a podcast, you hear those words in a natural setting, in a conversation.
Yeah.
So you pick up on those like subtle shades of meaning, idiomatic expressions, even how someone's tone can change the whole meaning of a phrase.
Tone is everything.
It is. Think of it like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually watching someone bake a cake, right? You get a much richer understanding seeing it in action.
Absolutely. I learn by doing, by seeing. And you know what? I actually remember the source material had this example.
Okay.
They used the phrase catch up. So you could learn that from a textbook, catch up, meaning to get up to date. But in a podcast, you might hear someone say, hey, let's catch up later. And you instantly know, oh, it also means to socialize.
Exactly. That's the beauty of contextual learning. It makes language come alive. It's more likely to stick with you because you're connecting the words to like real life situations.
Okay, so we've got listening being important, podcasts being a great tool. Now, this is where things get really exciting. Think about how many podcasts are out there.
Oh, it's incredible.
I mean, the variety is just mind-boggling.
Right.
You can explore any interest you have. History, science, you name it. True crime, comedy, and you're learning English while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's like the superpower. You're learning and you're being entertained. I love it.
Absolutely. And that diversity, it extends to the speakers themselves too, which is a huge plus, right? You'll hear all these different accents, dialects, different paces of speaking, different styles of conversation.
Yeah, I've noticed that for sure.
It's invaluable, really, because it prepares you for like real world English.
Yeah.
Where people are speaking in all these different ways.
That's a great point. And I know from experience that it can be kind of jarring that first time you encounter someone who speaks super fast or has a really strong accent. You're like, whoa, wait, what? It can be hard to follow at first, but the more you listen, the easier it gets. Podcasts give you that real world practice, but in this safe, controlled space.
Exactly. And not just that, you also get exposed to all the like slang, idioms, the colloquialisms that you won't necessarily find in a textbook.
Like insider knowledge.
Yeah. It's like getting a backstage pass to the language. This is really spoken by native speakers.
I love that. Now, let's say someone's ready to dive into the world of podcasts. How would you recommend they choose the right one? Because there's so many out there, it can be overwhelming.
It's true, yeah. It can be a bit daunting. But the key is to remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding a podcast that matches your level, your interests.
So true.
The transcript we have here, it stresses starting with podcasts that are, geared towards your current English level.
Okay.
So like if you're a beginner, you'll want something that's slower, clearer, maybe something like ESL Pod or The English We Speak. These are great podcasts specifically designed for learners.
Yeah, I've heard of those. They're known for being, very beginner friendly. But what if someone's like a bit more advanced? They want to challenge themselves with a podcast that's aimed at native speakers.
Oh, absolutely.
What would you recommend for them?
Well, for those, ready to step it up, All Ears English is a great option. It's hosted by two American English teachers, and they do this great job of breaking down common expressions, pronunciation tips, cultural insights. It's really fun and relatable.
That sounds cool. And what about for like our super advanced learners?
Yeah.
The ones who are like ready to take on some seriously challenging podcasts.
Yeah. For the pros, Luke's English podcast is fantastic. Luke, he's a British comedian and English teacher. His episodes are packed with humor, stories, in-depth explanations of, English and culture. Really entertaining, educational. It's a great combo.
I love those kinds of podcasts where they weave in the humor and make it fun.
Yeah.
And if you're someone who loves staying informed about current events, The Daily from the New York Times is an excellent option.
Yeah.
Fast-paced, wide range of vocab, definitely a good one for like advanced learners, who want to stay on top of their game.
I agree. The Daily is a great option for those wanting to, immerse themselves in current events while also challenging their listening comprehension. I think it's important to remember, though, these are just examples.
Oh, yeah.
There are thousands and thousands of podcasts out there.
Yeah.
So I always encourage listeners to explore different genres, find shows that really grab them.
It's like going on a treasure hunt for the perfect podcast. You never know what gems you might discover.
Exactly.
And the best part is you're not just, being entertained, you're actively improving your English at the same time.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Win-win. I like that.
And speaking of winning, there are actually some fun challenges you can try to maximize your learning.
Oh, I love a good challenge.
Right.
What kind of challenges?
Well, popular one is the speed challenge. It's a great way to push your listening comprehension. Many podcast apps, they let you adjust the playback speed.
Oh, interesting.
So you can gradually increase the pace as you get more comfortable.
Is it like training for a marathon, but for your ears?
Exactly. You start slow, you build up that endurance, and before you know it, you're sprinting through those podcasts like a listening champ.
I love it. I love it.
But if you're looking for a real test, the no transcript challenge might be up your alley.
Oh, okay. Now that sounds a little intimidating. What's the no transcript challenge?
It's definitely a step up, but it's a great way to test your true listening comprehension. Basically, you listen without any visual aids, no transcripts, no subtitles. You rely on context clues, intonation, your overall understanding of the language.
So it's like taking the training wheels off, seeing if you can ride the bike.
Exactly. You got it.
But what if someone feels like, I'm not quite there yet for that level of challenge? Are there other strategies they can use to make the most of their listening?
Absolutely. Consistency is, it's key. Just like with any skill, think of it like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
The transcript we have here, it recommends aiming for at least 10, 15 minutes of listening every day, even short bursts. They can make a big difference over time.
Okay. I like that. It's manageable, right? 10, 15 minutes. What do you think about listening to a podcast multiple times?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The first time through, you just enjoy it. The second time, you focus on understanding the finer details. If you're feeling ambitious. The third time, you try to imitate the speaker's intonation.
Interesting.
You're essentially engaging with the material on all these different levels, which really helps solidify your understanding.
I like that because, it's like watching your favorite movie multiple times. You always catch something new, something you missed before. And then there's note-taking, right?
Oh, yes.
Can you talk a bit about how that can enhance the listening experience?
Absolutely. Note-taking, it's so powerful. Jotting down new words or phrases that, grab your attention. Then you have your own little personalized resource.
Yeah, your own glossary.
Exactly.
your own dictionary. I like that. So it's like building this custom language toolbox.
Precisely. You've got all the tools you need to communicate.
Awesome. And don't forget about asking yourself questions,
Yeah.
right? As you're listening, what's the main point? What evidence is the speaker using? How does it connect to what I already know?
Absolutely. You're turning that podcast into like a mental dialogue,
Yeah.
right? You're challenging yourself to really understand.
Yeah. It's not just passively listening, it's that active engagement.
Exactly. That's what leads to real understanding, and fluency.
That's what we're here for. So we've covered a lot of ground already in this deep dive. We've explored the why, the how, the what of podcasts for English.
It's amazing how much we've unpacked.
It is. And I'm really excited to keep this conversation going, to delve even deeper.
Me too. I think our listeners are in for a real treat. Welcome back, everyone. We're diving right back into this amazing world of podcasts for boosting your English listening skills.
I'm so ready. We've uncovered so much about how powerful podcasts can be for language learning, but now I really want to dig into those specific strategies, the techniques that can help people get the most out of their listening.
You're absolutely right. It's not enough to just passively listen.
Right.
You have to be active. Remember those fun challenges we talked about before?
Nice.
Those are great examples of how you can really level up your practice.
I'm actually super curious about that speed challenge you mentioned. Can you break that down a little more? How does it work and how can it benefit listeners?
Absolutely. So the speed challenge, it's all about pushing your comprehension beyond your comfort zone, right? A lot of podcast apps, they let you adjust that playback speed.
Oh, cool.
So you can gradually increase the pace as you get more comfortable.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a workout, but for your ears.
I love that.
You're slowly building up your endurance to understand faster speech.
So start slow and then gradually work your way up.
Exactly. Maybe increase it by like 10% at first. Then if you feel more confident, bump it up a little more. You'll be surprised how quickly your ears adjust.
That's amazing. So are you basically training your brain to process information more efficiently?
You got it. And then we have the no transcript challenge, which I'll admit is a little more daring.
Yeah, that one sounded a bit intimidating, not gonna lie.
It definitely takes some courage, but it's an incredible way to really gauge your true listening comprehension. Without relying on any visual crutches. No transcripts, no subtitles.
Oh, wow.
You just use context, intonation, your understanding of the language to piece everything together.
So it's like a real life test, but without the pressure of an exam.
Exactly. It's the real deal.
Okay. That's awesome. But for someone just starting out with podcasts, wouldn't that be a bit too much too soon?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got to choose challenges that match your level, For beginners, focusing on consistency is key.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just aim for like 10 to 15 minutes a day, even if it's just while you're doing other things, commuting, chores.
Yeah.
Think of it like fitting in those mini workouts into your daily routine.
Love it. Makes it feel more manageable, more achievable.
Exactly. And speaking of making it achievable, we talked earlier about choosing podcasts that are appropriate for your level.
Yes.
Do you have any other tips for our listeners who might be feeling overwhelmed with all the choices out there?
Yeah, because it's a jungle out there.
It really is. The podcast world is vast. But, my top tip is to start with topics that genuinely interest you.
Okay.
It's way easier to stay engaged, motivated when you're learning about something you're passionate about.
Passion is key.
Absolutely. And I bet there's a podcast for every interest imaginable.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So for those beginners who are just starting out, what are some specific podcasts you would recommend?
Oh, there are so many great ones. ESL Pod is fantastic. They speak slowly, clearly, and each episode focuses on specific grammar points, vocab themes. It's really easy to grasp.
Yeah, ESL Pod is a classic, a good one. What about something like The English We Speak? I've heard that's good for like everyday idioms and expressions.
Yes, The English We Speak is perfect for expanding your knowledge of everyday English.
Okay, good.
Those episodes are short, engaging, perfect for a quick language boost.
Okay, so we've got some good recommendations for beginners, but what about for those listeners who are, a bit more advanced and they want a podcast that's designed for native speakers?
Yeah, for intermediate learners, All Ears English is fantastic.
Okay, yep.
The hosts are both American English teachers, and they do a great job of breaking down common expressions, pronunciation, cultural insights. It's like having your own personal English tutors.
I like that. Okay, now what about those listeners who are almost fluent but still want to refine their listening skills? What would you suggest for them?
Yeah, for those advanced learners who are ready for more complex topics, faster conversations, Luke's English podcast is a must listen. Luke is this British comedian English teacher, and his episodes are packed with humor, stories. He dives deep into different aspects of English and culture.
That's fun!
It's like a crash course in British culture while you're leveling up your listening skills.
And for those who love to stay informed about current events, I imagine The Daily from the New York Times would be a good choice.
Absolutely. The Daily is fantastic for those wanting to immerse themselves in, current events. They'll expand their vocabulary and refine their listening all at the same time.
Fast paced, too.
It is. And the beauty of podcasts is there's truly something for everyone.
Right.
Don't be afraid to explore different genres. Find what sparks your curiosity.
I love that. It's like a treasure hunt.
Exactly.
And the key is to make this a fun experience.
Yes.
The more you enjoy listening to podcasts, the more likely you are to, stick with it and see real progress.
Couldn't agree more. But it's not just about finding the right podcast, listening consistently. It's about how you approach each listening session. You got to be actively engaged.
Yes. Active engagement is key. We touched on that before. But can you remind our listeners of some specific techniques they can use to really dive into the material?
Of course. One technique that I find really powerful is listening multiple times. The first time, just enjoy it. Let yourself get lost in the story, the conversation.
Okay.
The second time, listen with a more focused ear. Paying attention to vocabulary, pronunciation, the structure of the conversation. And if you're feeling really ambitious, that third time, try to imitate the speaker's intonation, their rhythm.
Oh, wow.
You're essentially engaging with the material on all these different levels, which really helps solidify your understanding.
It's like, watching a movie multiple times. You always catch something new each time.
Right.
What about the note-taking strategy we mentioned earlier? Can you talk a bit more about how that enhances the whole listening experience?
Oh, for sure. Note-taking is a fantastic way to make that learning stick. Jot down any new words or phrases that catch your ear, their definitions, how they're used.
It's like building your own personal dictionary.
Exactly. A custom language toolbox filled with all the tools you need to communicate effectively.
And then there's asking yourself questions, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, as you listen.
Yeah, what's the main point? What evidence are they using? How does it connect to what I already know?
It's like you're turning it into a conversation in your head.
Precisely. Active listening, it's all about engaging on a deeper level, making those connections, asking questions, challenging your assumptions. That's what leads to true understanding and fluency.
I love that. So we've covered a ton of ground. We've talked about choosing the right podcasts, techniques for active listening, and now I think it's time to move into our final thoughts on this journey through the world of podcasts for language learning.
I agree. It's amazing how much we've unpacked. I think it's time to, synthesize all this info to really highlight those key takeaways that our listeners can put into action.
Let's do it. Let's shift gears and explore the most impactful insights from our deep dive into podcasts for English learners. It's been quite a journey exploring how podcasts can help you boost those English listening skills, but now it's time to bring it all together. What are the big takeaways, the golden nuggets our listeners can use right away?
One thing that really stands out to me is just how important consistency is.
Right.
Even just a few minutes a day, it can really make a difference over time.
It's like those little workouts, right? Those small efforts that add up to big gains.
Exactly. Except this time, it's your ears getting that workout.
Love it. And podcasts, they're so easy to fit into your day. During your commute, while you're doing chores, it's like sneaking in a language workout without even realizing it.
It is. And remember, it's not just about understanding the word.
Right.
Podcasts can help you absorb vocabulary naturally, fine-tune your pronunciation, develop a better feel for the rhythm of spoken English.
I like that, osmosis for language. One tip that really stuck with me was listening to a podcast multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
First just for enjoyment, then focusing on details, and then even imitating the speaker.
Oh, it's such a great strategy. You're approaching the material from different angles, which really helps solidify your understanding.
Yeah.
Think of it like getting to know someone better each time you hang out with them.
Okay.
That's what multiple listens do for your relationship with English.
What I find really exciting about podcasts is how they open up this whole universe of, fascinating people, ideas. You can learn from experts, hear these captivating stories, and explore any topic you can imagine.
It's like this endless supply of knowledge and entertainment.
And as your listening skills get better, you'll find that you can engage with English content more confidently. Movies without subtitles, conversations with native speakers, it all becomes less intimidating.
Absolutely. Podcasts can help you unlock those achievements and so much more.
So if you're ready to take your English listening to the next level, the world of podcasts is out there waiting for you. Experiment. Find those shows that really spark your curiosity. And remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
And perhaps the most exciting takeaway from all of this is these techniques, they can be applied to learning any language. Imagine yourself navigating conversations in Spanish, French, Mandarin, any language that you're interested in.
That's incredible. It's not just about English. It's about embracing that love of learning, connecting with the world around us.
Precisely. So go explore the vast world of podcasts. Find the voices that resonate with you, the topics that spark your passions.
And before you go off on your podcast adventure, think about all the amazing shows we've talked about today. Which one are you going to check out first?
What new worlds are you eager to discover through the power of listening?
Happy listening, everyone. And remember, we're always here to support you on your language learning journey.
Until next time, keep those ears open for knowledge and inspiration.